Welcome to Business Coaching Secrets with Karl Bryan. If you want to attract new high-end coaching clients, fill live events, and build a wildly profitable coaching practice where business owners pay, stay, and refer, you've come to the right place. In this podcast, Karl provides his keys to the kingdom for finding and signing high-paying clients and building the coaching business of your dreams. Here we go.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Business Coaching Secrets. It's your boy Road Dogg here with the man himself, the guy that lives on top of the hill, the king, as I like to refer to him as, Karl Bryan. How you doing?
Yo ho ho, Road Dogg. How goes it, my brother?
It is going swimmingly well, and I will be swimming because the weather is hot.
You will be. You should be swimming, bud. You should be jumping in that pool. You should
Dude.
be in there already. You should be in a Speedo, bud. That would be a good visual for this, man. Road Dogg is in a pink Speedo right now, ladies and gentlemen, as you listen to him. And
listen,
coming from Road Dogg's pool. How's that sound?
Your dreams are going to come true this weekend when Michael Hunt and myself got your place in Speedos prepared to shock and awe the audience. It's going to be amazing.
There you go, brother.
Anyways, on that note, shall we pivot to something that people actually care about besides Speedos?
Let's do it. I don't know. You in a Speedo, Road Dogg. You've been lifting a lot of weights there, big shoots. Might look good.
I'm just going to pivot because this is getting awkward.
We're going down. Wrong way. Let's go.
All right. First question that came across the board. This is good. I'd like to I'm going to ask you the question, but I'd like to get a number from you. How many times you've been asked by your friends on this? So the question is, I have a friend that wants to start a business and wants me to coach him through it. Where would you spend your money or time if starting a business? And by the way, so before we start, how many times have you been asked by your friends this very question?
Yeah, this is a common one, and no doubt we've answered it in various ways over the however long we've been doing this, which feels like forever. But yeah, first of all, I just say this, smart guy, because again, although people ask for some advice, here's the question. You're going to give him advice. My question is he actually going to follow it? There's a pretty good chance that he doesn't. But that being said, yeah, I get asked all the time, as you guys know, and no doubt you do. If you're listening, if you're a business coach, you hear this one, I got an idea. Do you think it's going to work? But I do like the fact that they're asking the question. I like the fact that a business coach is asking the question because, again, like the gap, if you like you're walking down a street, you got a homeless guy pushing a shopping cart, and then you got a billionaire driving by in his limo. The question is, what's the gap? And I can tell you that it's education with 100% certainty, right? Like, that's the difference. And then, let me take that one step further. It's education applied, right? And I will tell you this, somebody about to start a business, please tell them not to get into branding. We've all met the guy who wants to spend all his time on a cute logo, wants to talk about the name of his company for literally you give him 1 hour of your time, and for 55 minutes, he wants to talk about whether or not the name is correct, right? Like, give me a break. Business cards, although they're not quite as in vogue as they used to be, but still, like, you think I should put my business card in this color or that color? Like, please. So 3 questions. Look, somebody wants to start a business. What would I ask? 3 questions. Where is the recurring revenue / repeat sales? Okay, so this is the realtor versus the cleaning company, which again, you guys probably hear me talk about in the past. You got to be really careful with that one. The realtors go broke or burn out, and a cleaning company is not sexy and delusional in any way, shape, or form, but the repeat nature of it's insane. So that's question number 1. Show me the recurring revenue. 2, the unit of sale and the profit margin. Again, that's important. Like if you got a business, like if you're a massage therapist, you're charging, $100 for a massage versus a construction company. Let's say you become a roofing company where you're making just arbitrary number, but $10,000 of profit per deal, per landed contract. This can be, on average, and again, these are black and white answers to a very, very great question, but those are things I'd be thinking about. But number 3, and in fact, this will probably move up to number 1, but like third thing I'd be asking, like, what's the problem ultimately being solved, right? Like, again, stop coming up with ideas and take your spidey senses and you want them to put them towards problems. You see a problem, the bigger the problem and the more people that have the problem, the more successful you're going to be, right? So that's probably, yeah, so those three questions: recurring revenue, unit of sale, and are they solving a problem? If they're not solving a problem, you can pretty much just forget it. It's not going to work. The greatest idea in the world. I would also send them into, like, if I had $100,000, here's another question that I've answered in different ways over the years, and I will continue to answer it the exact same way, and I will not be adjusting it anytime soon. If I had $100,000 and I wanted to start a company, what would I do? And with 100% certainty, I would do this. I would buy ideal, and I want you to italicize and bold and underline and everything else the word ideal. Not just customers, but ideal customers are going to buy a lot from you, right? So, like, okay, a coaching, so an example in coaching of buying a coaching client. So let's say that I'm a new coach and I'm charging $1,000 a month. And I'm like, I've got experience working in the fashion industry, and then, this particular client is in the fashion industry, and I know exactly what they need to do in order to really, really crush it. And because I've looked at the business from afar, or I know the business owner, I'm a customer of theirs, I know exactly what they need, what they need to do to crush it. Well, as an example, if I went to them, and again, I'm a new coach, I'm $1,000 a month. Well, if I went to them and said, look, I will coach you and I will do it in this manner. Month one, I'll make 200. Month two, I'll make 400. And then 600, 800, 997. Like, I'll literally give you 5 months of my time. Because again, I'm $1,000 a month, 12 grand a year, but I'll give you 5 months of my time significantly discounted, including the first 2 months for, what did I say, 2, 4. So you do it for 2 months for $600, right? That is an example of buying a coaching client. You're giving your time away. But the thing is, it's an ideal client because you can help this guy crush it or this gal crush it. So they're probably going to be paying you the $1,000 a month for a significant period of time. You're probably going to be able to get some referrals. It's also going to give you some very valued experience in the fashion industry where you've got some experience. So now all you need to do is go find a similar business in another city, in another state across the country. You get 10 to 20 of them and you've got yourself a thriving business. So, or let's say that I'm a more experienced coach and I'm $2,000 a month. Like, screw that. I'm not working for 12 grand. No way. Let's say that you're $2,000. The way that you could buy them is doing month one at 500, month two at 1,000, month three at 1,500, and then 1997, right? So you see how you're working again. So you're working for significantly less than your worth for, what did I go over, 4 months there. And that's an example of buying clients. Or, like, let's say another example outside of coaching. Let's say I start up a business and I'm selling wood wholesale, right? Well, I would invite builders to come in, okay? And why builders? Because builders, when they build a house, when they do a renovation, what do they buy? They buy tons of wood. Well, if they start buying it from me versus somebody else, I mean, this is basically my ideal client, and they're probably going to be clients for a long period of time if I do a good job. So I would basically offer them, X amount. Let's just call it $1,000 of free wood, or $1,000 of half price wood if that's more than they can swallow, right? So basically, you bring people in, but it's in exchange for this, for the ability to give them a tour of the new office. So they've got to book a 30 minutes. The individual, not like their employee, but they need to come down in order to get the wood. But you want to be able to show them through the facility and show them why why you're better, why their service is going to be better. And basically, that's going to give you the effect of, or the ability to tell your story, walk them through your new establishment, which, by the way, if it's new, I'd imagine it's going to look pretty cool and pretty, shiny. So this is going to work in your favor. But also it gives you the opportunity to build a relationship and, really important, tell your story. That's absolutely critical. And by the way, that strategy that I just outlined, what do you think? Like, does it remind you of, like, being in Mexico and them selling you timeshares? And the answer is yes, but that would be an example of where, they could steal it. So basically that's an example. You want to be buying ideal clients. Another thing you got to make sure, though, like, okay, the guy's going to start a business, right? And again, he's looking for some education. Like, my question is he going to start a promotion, or is he going to be starting a business? What I mean by that, like, does it have a proper back end? Like, is the guy selling dogs, or is he selling dog food? And the question is, which one would he want to go into? Well, when you're selling dogs, like, I'd give you the dog for free to sell you the dog food, right? You got to make sure I give you the coffee machine for free to sell you the coffee, right? In the coaching world, an example of this, and there'll be lots of coaches who, because I get lots of life coaches and different types of coaches listen to this, right? Well, like if you're a grief coach, right? And I make fun of this, like it's just crazy because if you're a grief coach, what's your goal? To get somebody out of grief. If you get somebody out of grief, what happens? You lose the client. So if you're a grief coach, I hope that you really enjoy lead generation because you're going to be doing an enormous amount of it. And by the way, the better you get at it, the quicker you lose your client. Or like a career coach, right? Like they're finding clients and then, they help them get what is a career coach going to do? Going to help you get the promotion, going to help you get the job. And then what happens? Goodbye, it's done, right? Like you got to go get another client. So you might have lost a lot of loved ones, and grief coaching might be what you do. And it's like, it's an incredibly noble pursuit. And like, for sure, go for it. If you got a rich husband, a rich wife, you're not really too motivated by money, and you just like to give back and help people, then grief coaching is wonderful. Go for it. But just don't pretend like it's a business model that could ever get you anywhere, right? So again, it's a promotion. So do they have a proper business model? And another example of this is like the chiropractor understanding that having a massage, doing massage therapy within the chiropractic office where you could do promotions to bring people in for a free massage, a half price massage, a couples massage, Swedish massage, whatever, but getting them from the massage to the chiropractor, like that's a good business model, right? The cosmetic surgeon, like if I was a cosmetic surgeon, I'd be doing Botox downstairs and then walking people up to to get full cosmetic surgery upstairs. It would be an absolute laydown. And I could do Botox at half price. I could do it for free, for goodness sakes. I wouldn't, by the way, to be clear, as a full-time business model, but certainly to get you in as a one-time customer, I could do Botox for free to bring you as a long-time client and then walk you from Botox up to the $25,000, $50,000 cosmetic surgery, right? Like you see how, so you're going from massage to chiropractor. You want to make sure that they've got, proper business models in place. Like, again, a personal trainer wants to be doing 2-day boot camps. So you sell your personal training and you're doing that on a weekly basis, but then you want to have the boot camp. Like I used to have a hockey rink and we did hockey, obviously, during the week we'd do training and games on the weekend, but then I would have a tournament at least once every quarter and we'd make more money in the tournament for three to 7 days, depending upon the age groups and some other factors without kind of be irrelevant. The bottom line is that we were bringing people to our rink to practice and to train, and then we would make all of the money in the quarterly tournaments, like times 10, right? So to steal that, the personal trainer wants to look after you on a weekly basis and on the weekends, but they should be doing like a 2-day boot camp where they bring you in, they rent the facility and they bring you in and you don't leave for 2 days and they help get you off the sugar and they get you meditating and they get you chilling out, like just feeling great about yourself. Or again, like a marriage counselor, a proper business model, they should be doing like marriage counseling during the week and on the weekends, and then once a quarter they should be bringing all their clients together to a 2-day quote unquote marriage retreat where you're really going through the paces. Like I always say, when you go to the gym, if you go to the gym, and Road Dog, nobody knows this better than you go to the gym once a week, like you might as well stay home and eat potato chips. It's an absolute bloody waste of time. What you need to do is go to the gym every single day for 30 days, get some momentum, and then you can go 1 or 2 times a week to maintain. But you're never, if you're fat and out of shape, you're never going to get anywhere going to the gym once a week. It's okay, and it'll make you feel good about yourself for the next 2 hours after you at the gym. But other than that, it's a waste of time. So just understanding proper business models, I guess, where I'm going with the whole thing. Again, like, you want to sell swimming pools and build them for 50 grand? Or do you want to sell chlorine service pools and open and close pools? And the answer is you want to do both. You want to do the dog food and the dogs, right? You want to sell the cars and service the cars. You want to do the weekly marriage counseling and the retreats, not necessarily one or the other. In a perfect world, you do both. But if you're going to do one or the other, you do the one with the back end times 10 times a million. Like again, because the guy building $50,000 pools believes that all the money's in that. But once you build up the company, you realize that there's 10 times as much money and value being built up in selling chlorine than there will ever be in building pools. So that's what I'd say, Road Dog. Yeah, if you're thinking about starting a company, just really understanding those first 3 questions. Where's the recurring revenue? What's the unit of sale? Is it high enough? And is there enough, not just a high unit of sale, but a profit margin? Like how much are you making out of it? And then making sure that you're not trying to come up with clever ideas, which so many people do, but your spidey senses are looking for problems. And then ultimately you solve a problem, and the bigger the problem that you solve, the bigger, and more successful your business is going to be. So that's what I'd say to that one, brother.
Also takes a lot less skill to sell chlorine than it does to actually build a pool.
This is true, man. This is true.
It's funny, as you're saying that, I'm thinking it's like, like they always have the kids eat free. And then I always see dentists. It's like sometimes they give you like a discount on teeth whitening. I'm like, just give the guy the teeth whitening. Or if like, especially in our neighborhood here, right? Like the dentist here, what he should be doing with the amount of new families moving up here, it's like, hey, get your kids in here for free for the first time, because you're going to get mom and dad as your clients after that. Like, I just don't understand how they're not doing that.
That is it. And the only thing, and then he just needs to make sure that he's got enough staff. And then what you do, so if you're worried about staff, it's like you don't do this forever, right? Like you do a little bit of a promotion, staff up, you can get some temps and that sort of stuff. And like, cleaning kids' teeth is not exactly the most challenging thing in the world. Like Road Dog, you and I know nothing about cleaning teeth, but I can assure you it's not, there's no rocket science involved, right? So the bottom line is you just need to be a little bit cautious with the staffing and whatnot, and scale it a little bit and make it on certain dates and that sort of stuff. But again, with a little bit of a game plan, but they should absolutely, because you bring in the kids the kids aren't coming in by themselves with their lunch pail at lunch hour, right? Like they're coming in with their parents. You get the entire family, and this is the way you build a thriving dental practice. So yes.
Okay, so now, Carl, on the back end of that, now we just talked about a buddy coming to you and they want help in terms of starting their business. What on the opposite end of it? Like, what if they're actually looking and they want to either buy or sell or whatever? Like, if somebody is looking to buy a business, that's very different than starting a business. Is there something different there?
Yeah, that's a really good point. I should have covered that. So do they want to buy a business? And they should absolutely. That should be one of the things. Most people don't think of that. They all want to, they want to start it, just from scratch, and that is not necessarily the right roadmap. So, look, when you're looking to, so then really what we should do is go through like, what are the attributes? If I'm looking to buy a business, what am I looking for, right? I can tell you the mistakes folk make. If you want to know what I'm doing right now, Road Dog, my cat, is trying to jump onto my desk for some crazy reason. She can't live without it. Okay, kitty, you go. Don't hang up. Don't hang up, whatever you do. Okay, so basically, buy a business. What are you looking for? And the answer is, oh my God, crazy cat. So you want an underperforming business. You don't want one that's overperforming. Most people are looking for a business and then they want to buy a successful one. Like that's a big thing for some crazy reason. Really what you want to be thinking about is, like, let's just use a hair salon as an example. Let's say they've got 10 chairs. Well, I want to have one that's got like 3 chairs performing, whereas most people look to buy the business that has 8 chairs, 9 chairs, potentially all 10 performing. Well, if you buy the hair salon with all 10 performing chairs, guess what? There's no there's no room to move. So what I'm looking for is a place that's underperforming big time. Another thing that I want, we kind of touched on this a second ago, but I want low-end skill, right? Absolutely. I'm not buying an engineering firm. I'm not buying an accounting firm. Anything that takes 4 to 6 years in university in order to pull off is the kind of business that I am not buying. So low-end skill. And a bunch of factors why that is, but really if you want to scale and you want to grow, these are the types of thing that you're looking for. So low end skill, and then a growth sector. You're looking to get, well, this is starting a business or buying a business. Like, anti-aging is an example. There's an aging population. So without doing 5 seconds of homework, is anti-aging a growing, like a growing industry or a dying industry? And quite obvious. I'll tell you another thing. Look for artificial intelligence is making a dent. You know how the internet transformed the business world in a very real and tangible way? Well, artificial intelligence is probably going to do that times 10 over the next, and it's only just getting started. No doubt we all realize that it's coming, but I'd be a little bit cautious of an industry where artificial intelligence is going to come in and make a bit of a dent. But so the bottom line, like, what am I saying? Like a growth sector as opposed to one that's dying. Oh, now I got to sneeze. I've been holding my cat up in the air. Now I'm going to sneeze. Oh my God, road dog. So anyways, that's the answer to that one, man. Looking to buy also, and it might just be relevant here that we talk about, like, like rules. I can't remember when it was, but it was a question that you were laughing about because we left it on the table for ages. But like the rules of investing, if I'm going to look at, providing seed capital or to, basically, rules around investing in a company, there's basically a few of them, real important ones. See if I can list them off here. But one, like, you want an existing demand. Okay. So that's anti-aging. Two, if I'm looking to buy a business or to invest in one, I want to know they have a good management team. Again, so if I'm in a hot horse race, do I want the best horse or the best jockey? I'm going for the best jockey without any question. Ideally, I want both, okay, of course, but the best jockey. Three is I'm looking for kind of like a moat, like I want a barrier to entry. A big reason why, we spent hundreds of thousands of dollars over the last very short period of time developing our profit acceleration software is making sure that the competitors, anybody wanted to come and compete, if they don't have hundreds of thousands of dollars, they're not entering. The end, not happening, right? So I want to know that it's not about us, but it's like a barrier to entry. I don't want something that's going to be too easy to come and just compete. Four would be pain of disconnect. Again, once people start, buying from you, like this is an example of, the wood wholesaler. If I'm providing him, I want to create a pain of disconnect when that guy's buying from me. Let's put it that way. I want to make it difficult to exit. A lot of businesses don't have that in any way, shape, or form, and that is a mistake to not spend some time there. Five would be I want it to be a good idea. Again, best ideas are the ones that are solving problems. But again, I don't want something that's just generic. Like the local area does not need another pasta restaurant. I don't know where you live, but I guarantee I am correct in that one. It's just there's no need for another pasta restaurant. And then six would be minimal risk. Again, one that, what do they say? The higher the risk, the higher the return. And that is just stupidity. That is just typical, total, and utter stupidity where people just fall into the, go with your gut. What does gut stand for? Gave up thinking. You absolutely want to have minimal risk, and this needs to be something that you're thinking about. So that, and remember, 2 and 6 are the most important by a long shot, and I don't think that much time is spent. I mean, I think most people are looking for, is it a good idea? Is it a good idea? Is it a good idea? And of those 6, 2 and 6, idea doesn't even factor into it in terms of the most important on that list. And 2 and 6 are a good management team, like as in a good jockey. And then number 6 is minimal risk. Absolutely critical. And in fact, also worth relevant or mentioning here on these last 2 questions, like a business that involves real estate, okay, where you could buy the real estate, set up the business, build the business up, sell the business, and then maintain the real estate, and then rent it and lease it back to the person who bought the business is an absolute home run. So, like an example, I've had some success in the daycare niche. So as an example, like a daycare, they could buy the property, they could rent out the property, build it up, sell it, and then, be renting it back for X amount of time, like as in decades. This is an example of a business where, the return that you can make for your family for the next 100 years on that. Well, 100 years might be exaggerating a little bit because every once in a while a bad operator will come in and mess it all up, which happens. But that's something to absolutely think about. Look at that road dog, my damn cat. There you go, man. So those are the. Actually, you know what? I had a guy not long ago, and he actually asked me this. He was like, I'm thinking about starting. It was a coffee shop of some description, right? It was kind of like a Starbucks, and he had his own little twist on it, right? And I remember him asking me that, like, I'm thinking about starting that. Do you think is it a good idea? Which is what everybody asks. And like it was like I asked him, so are there other cafes in the area? He didn't really have an answer. I said, and if there are, what do they serve? Of course, he didn't have an answer. Is there a Starbucks locally? And are there 2, 3? So like, where are the closest Starbucks to that particular location. You know, the other cafes, low, mid, or high priced. You know, are they sit down or are they grab and go type smaller locations where it's just to go, right? How much is the rent in the area? How much do those guys charge? You know, and again, do you see, and this the way that you'd ask these questions, and then we get to, is there a gap in the market? And in a nutshell, he hadn't done any of that homework. And I'm like, again, like the problem, like, is there, remember, first principles of business, is there a problem? And then you're solving it. So if there's a gap in the marketplace, you can come in, fill it, and do okay with a coffee shop. And by the way, does the world need another coffee shop? And it would be the same answer as the pasta restaurant. The answer is pretty much no. But that's the process that I don't think people go through. That's the hard work. That's the setup. That's education is what that is, right? So anyways, Road Dog, there's my answer, man. But good point bringing that up. They should absolutely think about acquiring and buying a business versus just starting. And that's not to say that they should do it. This is a gray, you know, this is black and white answers for a gray situation, and they should explore both.
There you go. And I'm glad that you managed to battle through your cat incident there.
She's literally jumping on the phone, man. I'm like, oh my God, cat. Like, of all the places to jump, why do you want to sit on the phone? Anyways, let's keep going, man. Let's keep going. The cat is entertained, so we're good.
I know all about crazy cats. Okay, like for those of you who don't know, my cat is insane. Who's actually literally
God. Your cat attacked me, dude. Like literally attacked me.
Yeah. So real quick side story here for you. And so I'm on a group Zoom call because everybody's on Zoom now, right? Like this is the one beautiful thing out of the pandemic that's happened is I no longer have to ask the question, have you heard of Zoom? Like everybody's heard of Zoom at this stage. Yeah. And I'm on a group Zoom call and I'm on mute and I'm trying to not break up in laughter because my cat is literally throwing up a hairball beside me on the floor. And I'm just trying to keep it together and looking completely professional. And welcome to home office business. Like it was insane. So I feel your pain this morning, bud. Completely feel it.
There you
go. All right. Moving along. Oh my God. Okay. So here we go. As a new coach and wanting to get the right clients, what is your game plan for the first 30, 60, 90 days? Sort of, I'm jumping ahead here a little bit, I think.
Yep. Decide, so decide what you want, right? Ask people what they want, and they're going to answer with what they don't want. That always happens, right? Very interesting. So you got to establish that. Again, a business owner that's going to be highly successful, the reality is you got to get a little bit selfish, right? And when I say selfish, that doesn't mean you just turn your nose up to your wife or your husband and your family. Like that, you don't need to go to that extreme, but do understand that, the Michael Jordans, the Kobe Bryans, the LeBron James, the Tom Brady's, the Wayne Gretzky's, etc. They're very selfish and they just have to be, they're away a lot. Their nutrition and all that sort of stuff is just absolutely, they're unforgiving in that way. And they just have to be. Otherwise, they're not becoming the best of the best. It's just not happening, right? So I guess 30, 60, 90 days, like define what it is that they want to achieve and do understand that it's different for everybody because you might have a client that you're taking on and they might have, they might have 3 kids under the age of 6 or 7. If you put together a roadmap that requires them to work 60, 70 hours a week, they might do it and then they might get there, but they will self-sabotage the son of a gun a lot of the time. So be careful with that and do understand and, make sure that you're creating a roadmap that doesn't suit you and your personality, that suits them and their lifestyle and what they really want. And don't just think that you asked them and then all of a sudden they could just tell you, right? Like a lot of the time you got to drill down a little bit and then understand, like they might not be talking about their kids. You might not even you'd be a pretty bad coach to not realize that they had 3 kids under the age of 6 or whatever. But you know what I mean? You really don't just think that this stuff is going to sit on the surface is what I'm trying to say there. What actions do they need to take in order to achieve that goal is the next question. So once you work out what they want to achieve, what is that, right? What do I need to know? what do I need to know in order to take action towards that end goal? Like just work it out, write it down, get it going. Work out the pieces and what pieces have to go first. So like once you've established, okay, what do they got to do? Break them down, and it's like, and often what you'll find is like one answer will effectively rule out a lot of the other to-dos, if that makes sense. Like, example that I've been thinking about, like, let's say that like on a weekly basis, we talked about this actually last week, Road Dog, where if you knew how much time that you spent considering what you're going to eat and then preparing it and then eating it, and then it only lasts a very short period of time, like, 4 or 5 hours, and then you're eating again and you got to go through the whole stinking rigmarole again. Like before the week started, if you lined out exactly what you're going to eat for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and had it all ready to go, and if you had it all pre-made and whatnot, that would just be next level, big time. But just the amount of focus and energy that you would accumulate as a result of that would just blow your mind, like literally blow your mind, because you're just spending so much time. And again, this is why billionaires wear, pretty much all the time, they just wear the same stuff over and over and over again. You see it with Zuckerberg, you see it with Bezos, you saw it with Steve Jobs, and so often. And the reason is they don't want to be spending any time and energy in the morning thinking of what they're going to wear. And then you might think, oh my gosh, like how, what I mean? How serious could it be? Like how could this possibly be drawing them away from focusing on business? And the answer is you'd be surprised, and do understand that, folks that are super duper successful, they've got 24 hours of the day. So do you. Just the difference is that they manage to just, focus and dial in at a significantly higher level than what you do. So you should really be thinking about that. Like, again, what we talked about last week, like cleaning your own house. No, hire a cleaner, and then instead of sitting there watching Netflix during those 2 hours or just ignoring the fact that it's happening, spend consciously spend those 2 hours that your cleaner is there, studying something very, very important, like, managing expenses, understanding tax at a higher level, etc. So the bottom line is just understanding how, you put those pieces in place. But my question is, one of those pieces could knock out 3 of the other pieces. Look, this is something that you want to be doing. And I just gave you an example of that, right? Who or what company is actively doing this? Like, are they studying, are they studying local businesses and understanding, like what I just went through, I guess, with the process with the cafe, right? Like before you started, but even if you are operating at that level, the question is, look, you need to go research those. Like whenever I took on a new coaching client, one of the first projects I would give them is that they had to give me the top 10 businesses that are operating locally that they're competing with. I needed to understand exactly who those folks were. And we needed to do a little bit of homework with what they were offering, what they were charging, like the process I just went through with the cafe, like going through that, because we got to understand where the gap is. And that doesn't mean that we necessarily get dictated to by them and then their decisions, but to not research and understand exactly what, the local community has on offer is just literally silly, right? So again, who's actively doing this and kind of, looking into that? Where are you going to acquire this knowledge? I guess also, like, because, as a business coach, don't pretend like you've got all of the answers, because that's not necessarily the case, right? Like, you don't want to try and be that person that just knows it all, because that's not necessarily it. But the bottom line is, I'm taking on a new client. What am I doing? I'm getting tactical versus strategic is kind of what I'm going through here. I want to put runs on the board. Remember, progress equals happiness. So you want to make sure that your coaching client is getting, some progress. Like an example of where you don't go is you don't go into branding. Like, for goodness sakes, like that's just such a long-term play. And even social media is a long-term play. So to take on a new coaching client and sending them to Facebook and Instagram and whatnot, just understanding that they're not going to realize the benefits of this. And remember, the benefits are not, the problem is that it's likes, shares, comments, and activity, which gives them a little bit of dopamine and whatnot. But the reality is, remember, your job as a business coach is to put money into their bank account. So they might be getting the likes and they might start getting a little bit of shares, so a little bit of engagement. But I got to tell you, as a rule, it's very much a long-term play. And I'd be amazed if it's going to, result in sales in the short term, and they will over the long term. So again, take a little bit of time and put it towards their social media strategy, but don't be going all out. Huge mistake there. So that's what I think. I'm just kind of, it's basically, guys, it comes back to the basics. Like, if my client is overweight, I just, like, if anybody wants to lose weight, again, you guys know how much money people spend on trying to come up with a solution, for weight loss. They literally spend billions of dollars. Like, it's a multi-billion-dollar industry. And the reality is, you just need to stop eating the sugar, eat better, eat less, get off your fat butt, go for a walk, turn the walk into a fast walk. If you're able, you turn that into a trot, turn that into a jog, and potentially into a run. But the smartest thing you can do, by the way, in fact, I sent this out in an email recently, go and, enter yourself into a 10K race is totally what you should do. And by the way, you can do a 10K race and basically walk the entire thing. Everybody will clap when you're done. That's great. If that's what you got to do, that's what you got to do. But enter yourself into it, because it'll get you training. It'll get you moving. Road Dogg, you did that recently with your marathon, right? Like, you basically got into it. Man, like, the weight that you lost, man, and the way you trimmed down was just incredible. But again, because it wasn't about the marathon, it was the lead up to the marathon, right? The amount of, jogging. So basically with a business, it's the same thing. Like, get them up. If your client is not working out for 30 minutes in the morning, you borderline have to insist that they do it, okay? Because what they will tell you, I don't need to meet them to know that they don't have enough time in the day. And the reality is, they have exactly as much time as all the billionaires do. The trick is that they're not using it as effectively. And then they say to themselves, the bullcrap story that they've got is that working out in the morning is not going to, you know what I mean, that they don't have time for it, when in actuality, by working out in the morning, they will end up creating an extra a couple hours of productivity throughout the day because of the blood and the oxygen, etc. Right? So it's just, and it's so 101 as I say it, no doubt. But my question is, are they doing it? And I don't need to beat them to know that they're not. Like, did you work out, you personally listening to this, did you work out for 30 minutes this morning? And if you didn't, A, shut this off and go work out for 30 minutes, and then B, tomorrow, wake up and do it the first thing. And working out in the morning, what my dad says is an hour in the morning is worth 2 in the afternoon, and that's absolutely relevant for working out. Work out in the morning versus later in the day. First of all, it gives you an unbelievable sense of accomplishment, which is critical and will get your day rolling a little bit better. But also, it's just just that the benefits are well documented by people much smarter and more educated in this area than me. But you want to be doing it in the morning, absolutely. So that's it, Road Dogg. But I think that the premise of it is just make sure that you're getting tactical, not strategic, short term. And then why? Which goes against conventional wisdom, by the way, right? Because strategy eats tactics for breakfast. But the reason is I want to get some runs on the board. And a big part, kind of what I listed off there, go do some homework locally and get a little bit of a sense as, well, one, what is it that they actually want to accomplish, and really get that drilled down, defined, and understand it at a very intimate level. And by the way, and educate your client to understand it as well, because they very seldom have gone through that process. But then basically just putting the tactical steps together to start putting up some putting together a roadmap, and understanding the local community is absolutely critical. And local community, the local competition, absolutely critical. So that's what I'd say, man. But bottom line, it all comes back to practical application. So that's what they should be doing, bud.
Beauty. We're going to follow up next week, because I wanted the sequencing of the questions, because we just talked about the 30, 60, 90 days. Next week, everybody, we're going to fire off and start out with how you can actually keep your clients beyond the sort of average that we see in the industry of 6 months. But Karl, as we reflect back on all the wisdom that you shared today, can you close us out with giving our listeners, your one thing? Obviously, your one thing is I'm totally stealing that from your emails. But your one thing that they can do today from today's podcast that's going to help them get some progress in their business.
What's the answer to that? You know what? I'm going to answer a little bit differently, in that I just think that if you introduce me to a coach who doesn't have it, I've said this before, but I'll say it again, that's not going to change over the next 10 years. If you introduce me to a coach who has a lack of leads, I will introduce you to a coach who has a lack of confidence. So then the question is, okay, well, how do I increase my confidence at a ridiculous level? And I kind of just went through it a second ago. But what I would do is I would get a pen and a piece of paper, And I would do this with a pen and piece of paper, in my opinion. That's the way I do it. If you want to use your iPad, go for it. But just write down literally 50 ways that you are going to help a specific client, and the confidence that that will give you, the enthusiasm that will give you, the energy that that will give you. Because if you write it down for X, a hair salon, a beauty spa, a cosmetic surgeon, the pool company, when you write down 50 ways to help them, what's going to happen within you, and we just can't manufacture this. This is something you have to do for yourself. But I just think your enthusiasm and whatnot to reach that person is just going to go through the roof. And I just think that that is an exercise that every coach, and whether you're experienced or not, by the way, I just think that that right there is the smartest thing that you can do. Because ultimately, again, coaching clients, like we're talking about this next week, right? But if you want to keep your clients for, again, forget just, weeks and months, but literally years, your job is to make them an enormous amount of money. They don't magically become overwhelmed when they're making a ton of money as a result of your coaching client, or certainly they may become a little bit overwhelmed, but they're not canceling your coaching agreement, which is exactly what you don't want. So that's what I'm going to say, Road Dog, pen and paper. And I've given that advice before, but I'll be giving it again in the future. Absolutely critical. It's all about confidence. And I think that exercise alone, and then by the way, when you do it with, the X business, like let's call it the hair salon or the beauty spa or the cosmetic surgeon, then go into another niche, very different than that, and write down 50 ways to help it. And by the way, use your friend Google. Go research this stuff on the internet big time. And if you want an example, and I think literally last week or the week before I mentioned this as well, just Google my name and restaurant case study, and just do that a couple of times. It doesn't come straight up. It'll come up, but there's 2 different emails, and it's just straight from my emails, by the way. So it's going to take you to the Six Figure Coach or karlbryan.com. But basically, there were 2 different emails, and I don't know how many it was, but it was like about 50 ways that I would, if I was going to go work with a restaurant, what I would do, and they're right there for you. So that will give you a little bit of a guide that I think will be helpful. So there you go, Road Dog. That's what I'd say, man. Hope that's helpful.
Beauty, bud, as always. Again, thanks everybody for tuning in to another great episode of Business Coaching Secrets with the man on top of the hill, my boy King Karl. And again, if you're interested, if you're not getting Karl's daily emails, the ones I was just referring to, or you just want more information on how to build your coaching company, visit focused.com and subscribe today. Also, if you enjoyed this podcast, please share with an existing coach or someone you think would make a great coach. Someone that loves Tony Robbins, or in Karl's world, Tom Brady, or is just a great salesperson, or just a regular, highly motivated type. And of course, we'd appreciate it if you'd rate this episode, as we know that iTunes and Spotify give an insane amount of weight towards reviews. So please leave us a review if you like what you heard. Well, that's it for another week. Again, thanks for tuning in. And remember, folks, progress equals happiness. Take care, everybody.
Karl Bryan built Profit Acceleration Software 2.0 to train business coaches how to find any small business owner more than $100,000 in 45 minutes without them spending an extra dollar on marketing or advertising. This becomes a business coach's superpower. So as a business coach, you'll never again have to worry about working with business owners that can't afford your high-end coaching fees. Check us out at focused.com.